Welcome back to another video. This one's going to be on fractions on a number line in terms of locating them on a number line, understanding what a basic fraction is, and then how we can compare them using a number line and actually not using a number line as well. So let's go ahead and start with what is a fraction? A fraction is anything that can be written as m over n, where m and n are numbers. And in this case, n cannot equal 0, because if it does, then we have issues. Things get undefined. So for example, some examples of fractions would be 1/2. That's a pretty common one. We could talk about 5/7. We could even talk about improper fractions of 21/5, or negative 31/27. Okay, so all of these are examples of fractions. Notice how m in this case is 1 and the n is 2. We have these whole numbers or integers, positive or negative whole numbers, in the top and in the bottom. So that's what creates a fraction. And now if we look at these in terms of a number line, let's get a number line drawn out here. We'll go out to 5, and then we'll go out 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. We'll go out to negative 4 on this side. Really, the number line is just a snapshot of an infinite line, so we can make it as big or small as we want. All right, so let's take a look at, let's start with 1/2. So we know that it is smaller than 1, so it's going to be between 0 and 1 because it's positive. And so we know that 1/2, if we were to convert it to a decimal, okay, is equivalent to 0.5. And so we would come in here and halfway between, we would say that 1/2 is right there. Let's take a look at 5/7. 5/7 is bigger than 1/2 because half of 7 is 3.5. So it's going to be bigger, but yet it's still smaller than 1. So it's going to be in here. And there's 5/7. Let's take a look now at 21/5. 21/5, if we remember from one of our other videos, 21/5 is equivalent to 5 can go into 21 4 times with 1 left over. So we come out to 4, and then we're going to come 1/5 of the way. So this is 4 and 1/5, or we could just call it 21/5. It doesn't really matter. Finally, we can look at negative 31/27. And when we look at that, it's basically saying negative 1, and so 27 can go into 31 one time, and it leaves you with 4 left over. So 4/27 is pretty small, and so we will come out here to negative 1, and then we'll go out 4/27 of the way. Negative 1 and 4/27. So we see that as we move out left from 0, our negative numbers get smaller and smaller, but they look bigger and bigger. And as we move out to the right, our numbers get bigger, and we get closer and closer to 1,000,000 and 10 million and infinity that way. So another thing that we're going to look at is how can we compare fractions. So if we have, let's say we have two fractions. Let's go 3/4 and 4/5. How can we know which one is bigger? Well, we can actually do this one of two ways, but we're going to focus in on converting these to decimals and then comparing the decimals. So in the other video, we talked about how to convert 3/4 into a decimal. So let's look at it again. 4 goes into 3 0 times. 4 goes into 37 times, just 28, into drop down the 0, and 5. So 3/4 is 75 hundredths. Then we can look at 4/5. 4 divided by 5. 5 can't go into 4, but it can go into 4D 8 times. And so we have 75 hundredths and 8 tenths. So let's make this 80 hundredths. Well, how can I do that? Well, if you look over here at this division here, if we added another place value to the hundredths, 5 goes into 0 times. And we could continue that on and just keep adding more and more zeros since it went in evenly. And so then we say, okay, which is bigger, 75 or 80? Well, 80 is bigger, so our inequality opens up to the 80 hundredths, which then would in turn open up to the 4/5. So we would say 3/4 is less than 4/5. Okay, let's take a look at one more in terms of if it was negative. So let's say that we have two fractions. Let's say negative 1/2 and negative 5/6. Okay, so we need to compare equal decimals. So most of us know that negative 1/2 is negative 0.5. If you need to check that, you can come here. Don't worry about the negative right away, but just divide 1 by 2 and you get 0.5. So it goes in 10 times and 0. And we could come out and we go to 50 hundredths or 500 thousandths or so on and so forth. Okay, now let's take a look at negative 5/6. Okay, so we can take 5 divided by 6. We'll ignore that negative for a second. 6 can't go into 5, but 6 can go into 50. Let's think 8 times 48, which leaves us with 2. Drop down the 0. 6 can go into 23 times, which is 18. 2, 0, and what we see is we get in this kind of infinite loop thing here again. So we can talk about 0.83 repeating. Now we need to not forget our negative. And so we have negative 0.83 repeating. So now in terms of a negative, we almost have to think backwards with this. Because if we look at this on the number line, we could even just go 0 to negative 1. Okay, and this is negative 1/2. This would be negative 3/4. This would be negative 1/4. Okay, if we look at negative 1/2, it's right here. Let's use red, it'll show up better. And now we look at negative 0.83 or negative 5/6. We see that it's negative 3/4 is a negative 0.75. So we're needing to be out here somewhere. And the more left a number is on the number line, the less it is. Okay, so then we say, okay, which one is bigger? Well, we see that this is actually smaller than negative 1/2. And so even though 5/6 in and of itself is bigger, when you have the negative on it, it actually makes it seem kind of backwards. So, but if we look at it on a number line, it's more left, so it's further away from 0 in the negative direction, so it's going to be smaller. So we would say then that negative 1/2 is greater than negative 5/6. Hopefully this video helped. Go ahead and take a look at some of the other videos, and thanks for watching.